I have to call myself out on that. This is how you know technology is not always my best friend. But second season, Dreams Money Can Buy. This is Skip from BK, your host, and we still have in the building. We still have in the building.
It's retrograde.
Yeah,
man.
we definitely just messing up, but super talented, super all around personality of the city. She is without a doubt one of the most impactful people in this industry, and it's a way better intro than it did last time, so I like this one. So she has thrown events. She has written amazing articles. She has done, mental health events just to, safe mind, safe body, safe spirit. So let's get into our influencer personality event curator, just flat out, that person. I don't want to say that bitch because that's disrespectful, but that chick,
It's understood.
Shenae Curry, clap it up. We have you in the building again. So how are you feeling today?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good. We're good.
Okay, good. We're actually recording this time. I'm going to keep taking shots at myself this entire thing because it's needed. And I'm about to have miss out on a great interview because I didn't hit the button. But let's talk about the come up of Shenae Curry when she was a wee little young lady.
Yeah. So it's interesting. What I was saying before is that it's interesting when you look back on, when I look back on my childhood and things that I liked or little, even if it's a school project, and how much that influenced or how much that is really a part of my journey. Example, in high school, we did I always remember because we did a project on, it was a writing project, but we had to be different kinds of, some people wrote a book, some people did a magazine. We did a magazine. I don't remember what the other ones were, but we did a magazine. And I was in charge of the music section. And I would go to Billboard and write the charts and stuff just because I loved music. Being a kid, I was one of the kids who knew all the songs on the radio, and they'd be like, I hope you know your schoolwork, the songs on the radio. So it's just so funny because little things just later on make sense.
So what age were you when you made that? That was technically a publication, right? That's technically a magazine publication.
Exactly.
What age were you when you made that?
That was 9th grade.
So that's when you were 13, 14, correct?
Yep, 13.
Cool. So this is the first instinct of you kind of getting that writer bag of music, you write.
Mm-hmm. But it's I didn't think about that until last year. I didn't realize that. I was wait, I did
grade,
this.
Right. Oh, did you recently last year? Did you just realize this?
Yeah.
Wow.
It just clicked. I was wait, I definitely did created a whole magazine in 9th grade and forgot about it.
Wow. So wait, when you made it, right, and you study all the music charts, all the hot songs that are going out, all the lyrics, you never thought, hey, I really want to make my own publication? Or you just made it and you kind of got other things going as you were growing up?
Growing up, especially in a Caribbean family, that's not even an option that was said. When I was younger, I wanted to be like Angie Martinez because I loved Angie Martinez. Yeah. But I didn't think that was a feasible or attainable thing. It just was never brought up as an option. Everyone was oh, you got to be a nurse or you got to do this. You got to work with your hands. You got to learn a trade. But a trade option wasn't actually creating. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was just more conventional stuff that was brought to me. And I wanted to be a veterinarian for most of my life. So even when I'm making this publication, I didn't think, hey, I could do this. It's just well, gonna be a veterinarian.
So were you on the path to be a veterinarian because of that's just something that you enjoy because you love animals and it kind of fits in with the Caribbean thing?
Literally.
They'll accept that? This is one of those acceptable jobs?
But it's something I wanted to do because I was obsessed with animals. I know almost every dog breed. It was wild.
Okay. You still don't want to be veterinarian?
No, I'd let that go. Actually, the week before high school graduation, I let that dream go because right before prom, we had a lady come in and she helped us with a prom dress drive. And she had her own organization called Hip Hop for Life. And it was for kids younger than me, but she took a liking to me. And as I did with her. So she was oh, I have this thing, we're having this career week, you should come. We went to Universal Music Group.
Wow.
And we went to Nickelodeon. And we went to the headquarters of not Carol's daughter. What was the one? Dr. Miracle. So I got to see the different spaces that Black people work. And it's not in a hospital. So I was wait, I could do this. They had me So when we were at Universal, they had us be different departments in of the label, and I was marketing. And I had to come up with a marketing plan for Akon's album that he had out that year. And I did it like mad fast. It was nothing to me. I was like, wait, I could do this. I want to work at a label. Now I want my own label.
So this is when you were 17?
Yes.
Okay. So you made your first publication when you're like 13, 14. You had like your first experience just walking into like and just doing something that was like, this is easy. I did some breathing at 17.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I also skipped something. Was that 12th grade? I think it was 12th grade. Me and a friend of mine created a blog because we were known as the ones who liked music. Okay. So we started a blog, and it just like got legs of its own. And we would just like post new music that we found online. So it was like Mad Drake.
This is not Deal or No Deal, right?
No. This was called Brooklyn Souls.
Okay. Yeah. So even guys,
this is super vintage.
So Shenae is really having like some of these secret bags because I did not have some of these things when I was researching her. But okay. So this is your first website. So this is way before Deal or No Deal and other things that you were doing.
This was 12. This is 12th grade.
Okay.
Drake is like bubbling a little bit. Nicki Minaj. This is when Trey Songz was rapping, like around that time. And we had the website. It was a fucking blog spot, and it was popular in our school. Also in school, I was known for having music. So people would give me their iPods to make like playlists and shit on their iPods, like to put my music on their iPods. And CDs too. It was crazy.
Okay, so just pausing this. So writer, magazine publication, playlist curator. So you're making playlists. So you're the plug with all the new music, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have the blog. Mm-hmm. Then you work on the label for like Akon's thing. You made the marketing plan for that, right?
Yep.
This is all before 18.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So
just like random things that I'm still not thinking would affect my life long term.
But those are like really important, like foundational pieces. Not to say like overlook it, but because we're not. It really kind of makes sense why everything else we're going to talk about. Exactly. Not to say that it was easy, but it was kind of like
second nature. Yeah,
it was like there for you. It was kind of like you didn't think of it like this. I don't want to say two type of people like to separate us, but there are some people that since they were like 2 or 3, they came out the womb and it's like, I'm going to be an entertainer. I'm going to be an actor and stuff like that. And I feel like for you, it's kind of like your skill set's kind of like, I don't want to say manifested organically, but it was kind of like you were working on these things that eventually kind of like laid out as like, you were trying to appease the Caribbean family because, you know, if you're not like you said, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not a doctor, if you're not like some type of accountant or some type of thing, you're like a disgrace. Like, it's like, what are you doing? So veterinary until you like, I can really do this because you listen to Angie Martinez, like especially like as young adults or young teenagers. That afternoon slot was perfect because we get to listen to her. She talks about the culture. She had great interviews and you're just soaking up that. So you're listening to her style. You listen to all the music and you're basically you're doing research. You're learning.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're, in a sense, downloading a bunch of info to the back of your brain that you're not realizing is like complementing each other to eventually manifest into your future in a way, if that makes sense.
And that's wild. Okay.
It is.
So did you do any like writing in like college or like you just kind of like did your own thing? Like were you part of like any writing clubs in college or you just kind of like stepped in, stepped out and just like deuces?
Okay. So college, right after high school, we kind of still tried to keep the blog afloat, but life happens. Like we were both going into college or like figuring that out. I didn't really care to go to college just because I didn't want to go to Medgar Evers, which is where I ended up going because my mom went there and I used to go with her to class. So I just hated that school. Wow. Like I just refused to even apply.
So you went twice. Like you basically you had to go to that school twice when you were younger. And then when you were older, it's like, ugh.
Like literally she applied for me. I don't want to get her in trouble. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but she applied for me and was like, you don't have anywhere else to go. You're going to go here.
Honestly, it's a year. If they're going to really, I don't give a fuck. We have other things, more important things to do right now.
Right. There's like, other things that could get me in trouble.
To this, like we're going to go after your mom. Like, yo, bro, come on.
But yeah. So yeah, in school, hated everything. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't really have a major. But then they had a club called Rising Stars. Okay. So I joined the club because I'm still like in my mind, I had just did the Universal thing. I had the blog thing that I was just doing. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, how do I become a personality? Like, how do I get on the radio? So I thought Rising Stars, my mom told me that they had a radio, but the radio show was on BCAT. So I was like, I don't want to be on a radio show on BCAT. But then they also had a fashion show. So they told me to audition. I wouldn't audition for the fashion show. I did runway for like 3 years.
Okay.
Which is like a random ass fact too.
I mean, that's confidence. That's just being vulnerable.
I didn't have it though.
You didn't have it at that time?
No. So I think that helped me.
Okay.
Because I was very like, eh.
Were you like introverted, like to yourself?
Yeah. I grew up super shy.
Okay, that's really different than you now. Well, you're more like an ambivert now because there's going to be times where it's like, please shut up. I'm trying to just chill. And there's other times where you're going to be social. So I get that.
I was super shy growing up. So doing runway and all, I said 3 years, not 3 years. I did 3 shows.
Okay.
So I did that and that definitely helped me break out of my show. So also during this time, my friend at the time was going to Hunter College. And this is the same one that I did the blog with.
Okay.
So he's just like, yo, I'm about to sign up for this radio show at my school. If I get it, you have to do the show with me. I'm like, duh. So I was like, this is fucking perfect. Now it could be Angie Martinez because we're about to do a show. And we just did the blog, but, we got the show now. At the same time, someone from Deal with No Deal contacted me. It's my friend Cope, who is still one of my closest friends to this day. He hits up the other guy about joining the blog. And he was like, well, if you get me, you have to bring Shenae on too. Because we used to blog together and we're about to do this radio show. So we made the radio show a branch of the blog, which is Deal with No Deal. So it was Deal with No Deal Radio.
Wow. Okay. Because I was about to bring that up, but okay. That makes so much more sense. So Deal or No Deal was...
Deal with No Deal. Deal with No Deal.
Deal with No Deal.
Because it was for underground acts. So, wordplay.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did that operate for?
It was already happening before us because actually Deal with No Deal was started at my high school, Frederick Douglass Academy, as a medium for like Charles Hamilton and everyone that used to rap with him to put their music out.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he went to my high school. So the blog started from that and then became like, all right, this is how we're going to put out our music. Then it was like, this is how we could put out us and our friends' music. Then it was... all right, I think the site wasn't doing that good. Then it gets into Cope's hands and he's like, well, these two niggas, me and Carrie, these two just had a blog, bring them on, make it something bigger. And then it became for all underground artists. Okay,
so you had the backing of, wow, okay,
yep.
Okay. So with that experience of being on the radio, making all these kind of like people that didn't have like a space or platform to like showcase their talents in music, you were the go-to. You're like the kind of like breaking in these people when it comes to their music. This is before. Did we have SoundCloud back then? I don't think we had SoundCloud back then. We had something else. We had why don't I remember?
We didn't have SoundCloud because there wasn't really a way to stream on the website.
DatPiff. We had DatPiff.
We had DatPiff.
And
damn.
Like those, just DatPiff.
There was the other ones that you have like the little link on the blog where you could download it. Yeah. I can't remember the name, but like there were so many of them. Something Share. Everything was like a something.
So we had Zshare. We can talk about that first.
Yeah,
we had so many like mega uploads. So you were that place that was like, all right, once you got on those spots, it's like, oh wow, Shenae has a really good taste for music. So she's saying these people are worth the time. We should really listen to this, right? Yeah.
So it became like that. Like the blog obviously was doing good because people already followed me on Twitter. Like my Twitter at that point, I think I had like 1,000 followers.
Okay.
And this is all people who knew, like liked the same music, like Wiz Khalifa, Currency. Not so much Kendrick yet at the beginning, but then eventually Kendrick Lamar. And just those like, the blog era. So these are people who like identify with me like young from Brooklyn, but there's a difference between wanting to follow a Deal with No Deal where the people and they're personable as opposed to like a Two Dope Boys where you don't have no idea who the Two Dope Boys are.
Yeah, to this day, I didn't know until I think one of them tweeted like, yo, we did this like 10 years ago. I was like, I didn't even know it was you.
Yeah, I'm super big on like authenticity and being able to connect with your audience.
Okay.
So I guess in a sense, I became like the face. So I started getting invited to like shows and press lists, and it was wild to me. The first press list I was on for was a double XL freshman show.
2011 or 2012?
I think the one that had Lil B, Kendrick. I think Big Crit was on there.
I think that's the first one.
But yeah, that one I was on the guest list for that, and then after that, it just went out of hand. We interviewed mad people on the show.
Yeah, it was 2011. Wow. So you were like literally I think it was the first or second one, and you got to be with the heavy hitters of that generation of.
Yeah, it was wild. So on those, also going back to the radio show, we interviewed like Smoke DZA, who else? Smoke DZA, Dom Kennedy, Stolly, and then people from New York too. Like I don't even know if people are still rapping, like Curtains. I had Joey Badass on there too. I stole that interview from someone else. I used to intern at Karma Loop, which is random as fuck. But
I didn't have that either. Okay, so there's a lot of things that I feel like it fits when it comes to Scorpios being like silent assassins. Like there's probably a lot of information unless you say it, nobody's gonna know. And Karma Loop in itself, I can't say anything, even though they're down, but I'm wearing my brand right now. I was part of their contest. I'll talk about that in another episode. I have shaky feelings for them, but I'm glad
I absolutely have shaky feelings for them.
They probably didn't even treat you right.
Absolutely not. So they had a division called Karma Loop TV, which is, in that era, it made sense because, streetwear, and then you got all these rappers who wear streetwear and wear shit from Karma Loop. So I was working for Karma Loop TV, trying to get an interview, trying to do this, trying to start a million different web series, and they didn't want me to do anything. They were just like I was also one of two girls. They didn't respect our shit at all.
So they basically try to handcuff you talently?
Yeah, they were like, you got to create our email list. I'm sitting there all day, every day, creating a fucking contact list with all these talents, and that's all they wanted me to do. Like, I literally wrote like 10 different web series ideas down, went to emailed it to the boss. I had to pull up on him because he was wasn't responding. I went to his office and I'm like, did you not get my email? And he was like, we're working on this, we're doing this. And I'm like, but it's not happening. So let me do it. I eventually quit. But the day before I quit, all of Pro Era was in the office. And I knew who they were. Obviously, I'm from Brooklyn. I knew who they were, but this was my chance for them to know me. So someone from Flood Watches, I don't know if you know Flood Watches, but
vaguely,
they were supposed to do a Flood Watches interview and the person wasn't there. So they were like, oh, you can do it. And I'm like, they were like, yeah, you know who they are. You should interview them. I'm like, hell yeah. So I think Joey himself came mad late, so they didn't get to do the interview because they wanted to do it outside in the sunlight. So in the meantime, I'm kikiing with all of them, with Kirk Knight, CJ Fly, and all of them. And Joey got there, and I was like, yo, I have my own radio show. It's nothing to do with them, but you guys can come. I will interview you. I got a blog. It's lit. So they were like, hell yeah. Got their info, gave me Johnny Shipe's info. In the next week, we had Joey Badass and Kirk Knight on Deal with No Deal Radio. And that shit was huge because that's when 1991 came out. What, 1999? They're
the intro to them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your early 20s, right? And you're crushing it?
Yep. And
this is way before you get to The Source, right?
This is way before. I interviewed Kendrick Lamar way before The Source.
Okay.
Which I don't even know if you found that.
I didn't. That's why I was just I didn't even know you did all these things. And
really?
It's this makes me know, one, I didn't do enough research. Two, just to find your legal name, because obviously you guys are not going to know it. I know it. I was like, bro, I don't know if it was attached to your actual moniker or anything like that, but I couldn't find it. But how was that? Because I feel like you were more tapped in than a lot of these publications. Because a lot of times when it comes to publications from my kind of understanding, because I'm not in the literary space, it's kind of a passing of the old guard. A lot of people that we know personally are kind of waiting for the old guard to kind of retire and phase out so the new generation can really elevate some of these brands. Because a lot of things people catch on late. You knew about Kendrick Lamar. You knew about a lot of these up and coming talents because you have your ears to the street.
Yeah, I just genuinely love music. So it wasn't even on some me searching, looking out for certain things. I just liked it. So I'm like, all right, let me share this with people that listen to me.
So how was that? When it comes to those conversations with Joey Badass and Kendrick Lamar, because Kendrick Lamar then was Section 80, right? That's Section 80 look, Kendrick.
Yeah.
Or is that before that? It was when he was doing, what's those other mixtapes? The one with Overdose? The
OD.
OD?
OD and EP and then OD.
Okay.
So I got cool with them around right after Section 80. When I got cool with TDE, it was it was Section 80, but pre Good Kid, Mad City.
Okay, that's a good sweet spot because that's when he was it was bubbling.
Yeah. So even me getting to know them was random. A lot of this shit is random, and this is before I'm 21. So I remember I was cool with an artist. and her management knew Punch from TDE.
Okay.
And I used to be with them because I used to kind of work with them, but I was also like the little sis that they would just bring everywhere. So I meet Punch from TDE, and he follows me on Twitter, and like he actually engaged with all my like very Shenae like banter online. And I was like, wow, this guy is like the president of TDE, and you laugh at my shit, like that's cool. So randomly was like, you know what, let me just shoot my shot and be like, hey. So I DM'd him, I'm like, hey, do you think I could interview Kendrick the next time y'all are in New York? He was like, of course, I'll hit you up the next time we're there. I'm like, okay. In a week, because they were here a lot. In a week, I get a DM from him like, hey, we're in New York. When do you want to do the interview? I was like, what? Like, seriously? So we set that up. It's supposed to be after, this was during CMJ, I think, which was a music festival in New York that's like not happening anymore.
Yeah.
But I believe it was during CMJ because he had a show at Gramercy, and I did it downstairs, and I was so nervous because obviously this is my first like in-person interview. Like when I did the Dom Kennedy and the Stolly, it was over the phone.
Oh, so that's a different energy.
Yeah, and also like I'm a fan of this man. Yeah. Like not to say I wasn't a fan of Dom Kennedy because I fucking was, but it's like face to face right after he gets off stage. But it wasn't like a regular, oh, he just got off stage, let me ask him 5 questions. Like no, it was more set up. Like we're in a corner downstairs at Gramercy Plaza, and Gramercy Theater, and I'm just like it's all just whatever you want to do. And it was just so wild to me. And he was just super regular, but he like the energy was just like, ask me whatever you want. I don't care. I was just like, this is so crazy.
Because now he's extremely like recluse and private, just because a lot of people be asking crazy questions.
Actually, then he was too. Like that's just his personality. But you know, it's men and getting interviewed by a woman. Like they're gonna be like open to like talking about shit. As opposed to like when they do it men, it's more like, yo, bro, da 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 da. But like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was still cool. I
think women have more insightful questions than men. It's not to say, but it is to say, why am I not saying?
And then there's also something to say when you're a quote unquote, I don't even want to say backpack rapper because he wasn't, but like when you're that kind of rapper and you have women interested in interviewing you and interested in your music, it's like, oh, word, let me hear what you got to say. So anyway, do the interview. It never comes out because the sound is trash. You can't hear anything.
So this interview never came out?
Just wait. So you can't hear anything. We're like both like mad awkward in the footage. Like it was just ridiculous. So that never comes out. And I was just tight about it because we tried everything we could do, like raise the levels, raise this. Nothing was working. So I was like, oh my God, that was my chance. It's fucking shot. Like I'm a dub. So J. Cole, my cousin took me to a J. Cole concert at the time I think it was still Best Buy Theater, which is now PlayStation Theater.
And now it's like gone.
Right, whatever. But because of that, my cousin, shout out to Fabian, he took me to this thing because he was like, yo, I know this happened, but come to this show, da da da. And we both were J. Cole fans. So he took me, yo, this was the craziest thing. So we're outside of the concert after it ends. And we're just like, you know, after concert, you talk about like, yo, it was lit, da, da, da. And I see Punch. No, not even Punch. I seen Dave, who was Dave Free, who was also head of TDE at the time, and Punch. So I go run up to them. I'm like, hey guys, what up? Da, da, da. And it was like, oh, what's up? How was the interview? I was like, oh my God, like you can't hear anything. Like we can't even put it out. Like it's pointless. It was like, damn, really? It's that bad? I'm like, it's that bad. Then they're like, oh, you want to do it over right now? And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you could do it over right now if you want to. I'm like, how? Because
Kendrick's there.
Not there, like where we are. Yeah. But they're like, yeah, I'll hit you up when we get back to the hotel. You can just come there and do it in the lobby. Wow. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. Trying not to freak out. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Right. So I'm like trying to get my sense of thought together. I call my homeboy, who's the one who shot it last time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yo. So my cousin, Fabian, he takes me to Shake Shack. He's like, yo, you got to calm down. Because I was, how am I going to do this in 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Like we're in Times Square. I don't know where my friend is with the camera. Like I don't know what I'm going to do. So I call him and I'm like, yo, I just saw Punch and Dave. They said we could do the interview and over. Are you in the city? The nigga was in Union Square. So I'm just like, and he had his camera. So I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, meet me here. Gave him the address. He met me. literally go into the lobby of the hotel, see Punch, and he's like, yo, da da da, like, damn, that sucked that it couldn't come out right. Kendrick's upstairs, he about to come downstairs. Mad regular, super casual, sitting on a couch in a hotel lobby, get the interview done, and it was fire. And it was just so, like, casual. It looked like two friends just, like, chatting.
Two things. First thing, shout out to you because you're really good at, like, relationship management. Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand. I think in the industry, a lot of times people only hit people up when you need something instead of, like, building, like, generally caring about the person. Because I feel like, I mean, obviously Punch is interacting with your content and vice versa, but it's interesting that you got to redo. Because a lot of times, you know, a lot of people be like, that sucks for you, right?
Yeah.
But he generally was like, he was bummed because you were bummed. And it's like, damn, it was like, could have been like a real conversation. So you got your redo. And shout out to like the second one, shout out to like the universe helping you with your friend being in Union Square, having his camera. So, because it could have been like a worst case scenario where it's like this person was like, I don't know, in Canarsie, where it's like,
facts.
If he was that far out, you're kind of like screwed.
Yeah.
But Union Square is really like a quick train stop away, a couple of stops away, and you got that done.
It was so serendipitous. Like, I think that's like the theme of my life. Like, everything is just very serendipitous.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to happen. So we did the interview. Everything went cool. And then from there, I ended up having like a working relationship with TD, but also like a very close, like Punch thinks he's my dad. Like, we're that close, like after that situation. So like anytime they came to New York, they're calling me like, oh, we're having a show. You want to come? These niggas would leave me like 10 tickets at will call. I don't even know 10 people who listen to anything y'all put out. So it was, and then if they have like a party or they have this or we're going to dinner, do you want to come? It was just super regular. So it's like you said, keeping relationships, because that could easily turn into, it could easily just be like work. It could just be like, I need something from y'all. Or it could be, you know, with women and men working on opposite ends, it could be like a fake romantic situation where it gets inappropriate. I wasn't with none of that shit. And they weren't with
none of that.
Me yet. They weren't with anyone trying to insinuate any of that.
Yeah, they like, really respected you.
Yeah, so
which is very,
it's wild.
Kind of sad to say that is rare, but it's rare.
It's wild.
Okay.
Like, I'm really grateful even to this day.
So is that like the interview that had people like, because you had access that a lot of people didn't have? Is this when people just looking at you like, who the hell is Shenae Curry? And why does she have this access to these people? Why can't we do this? Why can't we work with her type stuff, right?
Yeah. In a sense, yeah, it was like that. The interview came out in October. I think it went viral, I want to say 2 months later. Like, it was on Two Dope Boys. It was on Smash. It was on all the big blogs.
Okay.
Like, and back then, people used to comment on blogs.
Yeah.
So, like, all the comments on Two Dope Boys were like, oh, she looks good. I wonder if he would fuck her. Like, just inappropriate shit. But then you had like 2 or 3 comments that were like, wow, she really knows her shit. But everything else is inappropriate because what do men expect from women who are supposed to be in hip hop anyway?
Pretty much anything like that.
They expect us to be airheads. They expect us to not really know about music. So I'm glad that a few people like caught on like, oh, she knows about his music. And then other people's like, damn, she looked good. I'd hit it. Like, nigga, you could never.
I like the energy. I like the energy.
But still, yeah, it was interesting. So that was definitely the beginning. They would have shows and I'm like going backstage with them. And then you'd have people like grabbing me up like, hey, do you think you could get this to Kendrick? I'm like, no, nigga, like send an email like everyone else. Like, shows were insane. Just like being there in a show or walking through to walk to the back. People were literally like, they know who I was to be with them. So
question, right? In this time, this is still Deal with No Deal. Do you make that transition to anything in between Deal with No Deal and The Source? Or is there anything, or this is all connected to Deal with No Deal?
This is all Deal with No Deal. My relationship with them had nothing to even do with The Source.
No, I wasn't saying. I was saying if there's any other project in the mirror, because this is all connected to Deal with No Deal. So all your creative energy, like this great interview, other things. Mm-hmm. So when do you make that transition to like this publication that even I'm not like a hip hop aficionado, but when you think of The Source, you think of like the mics, you think of like, these are people that review the hell. So not to say that Deal with No Deal is not a big deal. It is. But like when you go up to that point, like how does that help? Because like right now, I don't want to say you don't need them, but you could have continued your own lane. And
I could have. Sometimes I'm mad that I didn't.
Yeah.
Like I do beat myself up because certain things, like even throughout the whole story of me, there are certain things where it's like, yo, you could have done this or you could have done that. And I do get mad about that. But it's like, I didn't have like, I guess the confidence to just start my own thing in a sense, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, the source was 2012.
So it wasn't that far after. It was probably like a year.
Yeah, it wasn't that far off, but this was also a time when there were shows every week. So it seemed like a longer time period than it actually was.
Oh, right. Because to get there, you like covering so many other things till you get there.
Yeah. Was this 2012? I can't remember. But I definitely quit in 2016.
Because you were there for a couple of years. Because you got to meet a lot of people.
2.5 years.
There. I think there was some overlap with you and I think it was Kaz and like a lot of those other people. It's
funny how I met Kaz on that, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the source because they had an intern call, and this happened. I saw the intern call when I was depressed because I had got robbed and like jumped and shit. Not really jumped, but I got robbed. So like I was kind of out of it, and I was like, I hate everything, don't want to do anything. And my friend was like, well, the source is hiring. We're going to go. And mind you, this is the same friend from the blog, from the radio show, from everything.
Was it
Carrie?
Carrie. I was about to say Curtis. Carrie. So wait, that's like your dog. Like that person's always, any opportunity, it's always been like, y'all are like tag team forever, like take over the world.
At the time, we were really, we were definitely like two peas in a pod. Okay. For sure. So. Did
y'all both get the internship or was it just you?
We both went to the internship and we both got it.
Okay.
Both got hired the same day and like basically was on some, we're taking this shit over.
Okay.
And in a sense, we kind of did. Because he went on to, in a 2.5 year span, definitely went on to being like editor. And I started the physical manifestation of what they were calling her source, which was the woman's version of the source. So I ended up making like a 10 to 14 page spread in the magazines dedicated to women. Like I had my own interns. I was assigning content. I was coming up with the content. I made the logo, like a lot.
Okay. All right. Impact.
I feel like I'm throwing a lot of things at you.
No, I just know the source. I just feel like there's a lot of things within it. Like, I feel like I'm not trying to be like creepy with the research, but it's like, I let you kind of like expand on what you want to expand on. But that's like mad impact. And I feel like that in itself, where it's like you had your own interns, he was an editor, but you were always more on the visual side, right? Like, I feel like you do like writing, but I feel like you want to transition from like that.
I wanted to transcend. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah. I was trying to find ways to do that. They weren't really trying to let me. So it was another issue of, here go men not letting me want to do my ideas of what I have in my mind to do, which is being on camera. Yeah. But like writing, I love writing, but my thing is always, I always wanted to be on camera.
Yeah.
I did a couple other things in the source, like I set up I got arrested while I was the source too. We had a freestyle series for like upcoming rappers, and the one that I set up, which was the best one, it was a bunch of, who was in there? It was Chris Casanova, Mike Classic, Dime a Dozen, just bare people. But we did it in an abandoned building, and we had a DJ. We had, like, I don't know who I thought I was. We had a DJ. It was fucking in the middle of the night in East New York, and we shot the freestyle video like 3 times. And then while we were all leaving the building, we all got arrested for trespassing.
Okay. When was this? 2014, 2015?
It could, yeah, something around there.
All right, because here's the thing. I think you got robbed of your idea by those freestyle ciphers that you be seeing on like those BET award shows. You know what I'm talking about?
No, they didn't copy me. I was inspired by that.
Okay,
because I was like, how can I make this very New York?
Okay, because I was like, source. That sounds just like.
Nah, yeah, I was inspired by that because it's the BET. It's a hip hop awards, like of course. So I wanted to do something like that because the series was called Master of Ceremony. Mm-hmm. The other one was just them rapping in the office, which is whack. So I was like, no, we need to make this a thing.
Like make it gritty, make it real, make it like authentic.
Exactly. Like we need to do this on a location and make it look like something. Like we're the Source magazine. Why do we have niggas rapping in the office?
Yeah, that wouldn't even like, but I get it. So it's the second time that, you know, people haven't really allowed your creative like source to like just manifest as it should, because you probably could have taken it even higher if they instead of like saying, no, we don't do that, to like, all right, how can we make this reality, right? So is that like one of the parts where you like eventually you keep getting like this blowback from people where it's like, yeah, I don't need to deal with this. Like this is not fun anymore.
Yeah, and if there's one thing about me, I'm a dip. Like once I don't feel appreciated, I'm out. Like I don't I don't need a backup, which is, I guess, hasty, but I don't need that. I'm out. If I don't feel respected, I'm out. So it was a couple of things. Like during the source time, that was one of my last big projects. Also, her source, I didn't get the credit that I deserved. Like I had wrote an intro blurb for the first edition and I wasn't credited.
Wow. That's petty.
Yeah. So it was a bunch of things. So at the end, I was like, yo, I'm connecting. I'm getting all my contacts. Let me load up on like everything that I've done here and just prepare myself to dip. So while I'm in that mind state, that's when I meet Kaz. Because I already knew like Low. I knew everyone from that circle.
Yeah,
I knew all of them before I was even at the source because of blogging. Like I knew Lowkey because Lowkey used to host everything.
Yeah.
And the first time I met Lowkey, I had already seen him host like 3 times. And the first time we met, I was like, I want to be like you in 5 years. He was like, why not tomorrow? Why not 5 days?
That is how Lowkey talks. So I always appreciate how he's like, why are you taking so long? He's always going to be like, just jump. Like,
yeah,
do it.
He was just like, why not 5 days? And I was like, this is the most profound thing someone has ever said to me. So me and him have been cool since then. But I met Kaz, I think in like a mutual like, oh, this is so-and-so. And he was like, oh, what do you do? I was like, yeah, I work at the source. He was like, how's that? And I was like, I'm about to leave. It's like an inside joke between anyone who used to work at the source. Like, if you was to tell them, like, yeah, I work at the source, they're like, like, everyone had, like, that underlying shade of, like, ugh. But everyone said the same thing. You'll get what you can out of it and dip when you feel like it's ready.
Yeah,
when it's time.
I feel like this amongst the other kind of, like, brands that you're attached to, like, when you look at this is, like, a very amazing ensemble of like places you've worked at, because I feel like when it comes to where you are now, I feel like you had to deal with a lot of bullshit to like kind of like, I don't want to say like, you know, sharpen your fangs, but you kind of did, because it's like, this is the things that I don't want to deal with. So I want to get to a place where this is what I want to deal with, like when I come to creating, because there's one particular idea that when we get to it, I'm excited for it because I love how you did it and like what it was kind of like. You're good with influence and like how to like take that influence and inspiration and flip it into your own Shenae Curry way. And I think that's what's impressive. Like this is only a point of like originality, but it's how you remix it to make it your own thing, right? Because some people like to copy and paste, which they try to do it with this idea and it was horrible because they lost the magic formula of what you did with that thing. So
we'll get there.
We'll get there. But it's like we're alluding to it, but like that's like I'm excited for all these things. But when I look at it, it's like, all right, so
see, remember what I was saying earlier when we first started about seeing how certain things in my childhood manifested to like what I do now. Yeah, it's funny now to hear everything, and like because when you said I like to do things more visually, that really like the way the story is going is like it ends up becoming that. Anyway,
because I knew you were a great writer. Like just before you continue, I knew you were a great writer. But when it comes to like the things I knew you for, it was either hosting or like visual concepts. So it's like, you know, you in front of the camera, you doing these things. So it's not to take away from that, because technically in the world, when we think about it, everything is connected to writing. Like whatever subject, journalism. You have to do writing. But what do you take the writing to do? Like it could be television. It could be, for your case, covering music. It could be your case covering events, and how you do that in a way where it's like, oh snap, I'm learning from these people. So I think when we go on to like the next couple of things, is like you went to like being a managing editor, and I feel like we're foreshadowing a lot, but I'm just like, I don't really get to talk to you a lot. So this is my time to like really big you up, where it's like, yo, this is pretty dope. We're only like a third through your journey, and you've done a lot.
It's a lot.
Like you got to interview some people like Kendrick Lamar. You got to be like, you know, Charles Hamilton before Charles Hamilton had some issues, and J. Cole, all those people. Yeah. And you have like those things where like this is second nature to you. Like
I didn't even get to like I have a relationship with them similar to TDE too. Like
you talking about Dreamville?
Yeah. Like funny ass stories. Like I wrote about I met Boss when we did like a top mixtapes of the year, whenever Quarter Water Raise Me 2 came out. Put him on there. Dreamville was mad supportive, mad appreciative. And they invited me to like a show he had. J. Cole ends up coming out at the show. This was at Westway, which is not even open anymore. Like niggas don't even know about Westway. But it was so dope. And like the way after that, they just again looked out for me like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. Like I went to their Friendsgiving last year. Like those are my dogs. But like,
so are we talking like that time last year? Or are we talking about last year, like 2000?
I'm talking literally last year.
Okay.
Friendsgiving.
You're wavy. Okay.
But so wrote about him. Then I get a working relationship with them. And then I think this is when he put out Last Winter and he had like the party. So before the party, I interviewed him and gave him like a 2-page spread in the Source written by me. Like it was dope. So I also ended up finding out like his management like went to high school with my aunt. Like my whole family is very mixy.
That's the Jamaican way.
It is. My home family is ridiculous. So they look out for me because of that as well. Because the connection. But they had a party or whatever, go to the party, and Boss introduced me to Cole. Mind you, I already met Cole twice on my own. Like just as a fan and as a blogger. But now it's different when like your people is introducing me to you. So Boss introduces me. He's like, yeah, this is Shenae. She wrote about me, a 2-page spread in the Source. He's like, wow, 2-page, that's fire. So then I'm like, yeah. And then later on, Ebe, who's like everyone's manager in Dreamville, me and him is talking regular. Cole passes us again. She's like, yo, Cole, this is Shenae. Like, you got to meet her. She wrote a 2-page. He's like, yeah, 2-page spread. I know, I heard. Because before Boss said it, I said it to him too. Like, I just walked up and I was like, yeah, I did this, I did that. You should let me interview you. He's like, yeah, I'm not really doing them. I was like, I don't care. But I did a 2-page spread about Boss. And he was like, nah, that's cool. So everyone just the rest of the night kept saying like, yeah, Cole, you know she wrote this. He was like, yes, I know. 2 pages in the Source.
So they just okay. But you know what I'm starting to see when it comes to this, people are not quick, but like once they've kind of like seen your work, is like, yo, she part of the fam. And I feel like that energy is like what makes you so easy to work with and like memorable. Is like, all right, I know she's about her business. And it's kind of funny because I had to check on something real quick because I thought I wrote it down. So during this time, because I had to get the timelines right, everybody. So like with the Source and like Deal or No Deal, you also started like In the House. You partnered like that's the event series when you're throwing events and stuff like that, right? That's like for about 1.5 2 years. You're doing a lot of things at the same time. How do you do that? Like with this, like that whole time management, like you just were grinding.
The timing actually wasn't exactly like all together. So I quit the Source and then I decided to go to IAR, which was the Institute of Audio Research, because they had a music management production course. Okay. So I decided to do that for 9 months at the same time as when I meet Chloe. And everyone was like, yo, y'all gotta work together. So then I ended up coming up with the idea for the in-house. And I was like, yo, we should have a showcase series showcasing talent from all of the 5 boroughs. We should do this, we should do that. And like, she was with it and was like, all right, we're going to make this a thing. Came up with the name and we decided that we were going to promote it as a party. Like just a party for, a party to celebrate being from New York with special guests though. Because I was like, if we're going to do this, we got to do it like I'm fucking Diddy. So there's also like a trend in my life of wanting to be Diddy. I didn't even touch on my 21st birthday party, but that's gone and past now.
Wait, hold on. Did you have like Bad Boy back at the day? Like,
no, I thought I was Puff Daddy.
Yeah, so I know, but did you have like a strong relationship with Bad Boy growing up? Or like not even musically? Like you didn't listen to him like that?
No, of course. I don't know them. I'm just saying like I loved everything Bad Boy.
Okay.
But my 21st birthday, I had a showcase for my birthday. A party and a showcase.
Of course you did.
So I threw my own event.
Of course you did.
Yeah. I had someone come sing happy birthday to me. I had a big ass cake. I had thought it was the shit.
I mean, you are, but I was like, I didn't do that for my 21st birthday. I'm a little jealous, but okay.
It was a little insane. But
so
anyway.
That partnership when you meet with Chloe, because I feel like what's interesting, because you're a water sign, Chloe's like a fire sign. She's such a very tough cookie. Y'all both tough cookies in your own way. And I feel like it just works. Like the Aries Scorpio bond is like, y'all just don't take any bullshit. And I think, but you guys are very warm, like people, if that makes sense. Like y'all don't fuck around, but y'all come with like, but we're going to get work done. Like we're going to make sure it's a great vibe. We're going to make sure. And I kind of wish I was mixy enough back then to like do that. I was going through my own thing, but I missed out on a great time from what I see from the images.
Yeah, it was definitely a time. And the good thing with me and Chloe, like we both have ideas, but I'm the one who like, we'll have like meetings and she'll be like, do whatever Shenae wants, because if it's not the way that Shenae wants it to be, I'm going to hear about it later. So a lot of the things she was just like, whatever you want to do. Like I wanted to start making cups like as giveaways. She was like, do whatever you want to do. Because, and I have one of my best friends now, she's an Aries and she's very much like, whatever Shenae wants to do, we'll just do it. Because they know I mean well, and it's going to be a good idea, but it has to be done a certain way. But we all work very good together. Like me and Chloe we created magic.
So after that, you kind of like jumped to like some other positions too, because you did that till like mid 2017. Yeah. So I was like,
yeah. So I
15,
graduated IAR, and then we continued with the in-house, and we had different guests. We had different performers. The first one we had Mac Wiles perform, which was a complete surprise to me. Which it was insane because I'm a huge fan of his because of The Wire. Like I was obsessed with The Wire growing up.
So wait, it was a surprise to you, but you are the person that usually kind of builds up the event. So how did you get surprised?
The same friend, he met him somewhere and he set that up. He was like, yo, my friend's having this party. She loves you. She really, like, I really wanted him to perform, but I didn't know how to even reach him or contact him. And they set that up as a surprise, which was funny because I'm on stage, like drunk, drinking Bel Air out the bottle because Bel Air sponsored the party.
Okay.
Drinking Bel out the bottle, like partying with everyone while I'm on stage. And the DJ starts saying, yo, shout out to Mac Wiles. Da, da, da. I'm like, he's not here. Why are you shouting him out? Because it was on the list of things that I wanted, but wasn't going to happen. So I'm just like, stop shouting him out. What are you doing? He's just like, whatever. So he does it again. It's like, yo, shout out to Mac Wiles in the building. Da, da, da. I'm like, he is not here. Can you stop doing this? Like, you're embarrassing me. Next thing you know, they put on Own It. And this nigga is like in the corner of the stage with a cap on and just starts singing. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, he was literally there on stage with me at the same time. And I didn't even know. Like, it was crazy.
I wish I could have been there just to see your face. Because from what it sounds like, you're kind of like the event, like, curator. Like, you make things happen. So to surprise the person that sets it up, hosts the event, all these things, like, I would know who's here and who's not here. Why are you trying to, like, spoil my night?
With, like, details and organization, especially when it comes to my events. So for that to go under my nose, I was like, what? That's the first time I've been surprised, like, legit in my life. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was freaking out.
So in addition to, like, Mac Wiles, what other names did you guys have? Because you had some, like, you know, not at the time, it's not to say he wasn't, because he was an actor, he's a musician, he does a lot of other creative things. But who else got to touch the stage or, like, be with you at these events that you had there?
We had local acts, like we had Trey Pizzy, we had Wordsmith, we had who else do we have? There's so many people. Yeah,
but like if you're in like a New Yorker, those two people, we know those people. Like
yeah, we had a lot of people from Harlem. We had why am I blanking out right now? Phil Walker, Kadeem King. We also had like Manolo Rose when he was bubbling.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so we had like the whole Run Ricky Run and like everything else he had coming out. We had Novo Knuckleheads. We had another event that was all women. So we had Naima Supreme, Nitty Scott. Who else? Oh my God. We had Casanova. We had Dime a Dozen.
That's the second time. So you have a pretty good relationship with Dime a Dozen because you had him on something else too before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we were following each other. So I just like was like, hey, you want to do this? And it's like, yeah, sure. Cool.
Okay. I gotta keep this going because I know you worked on.
There were a lot of other artists because we had how many of them? 4.
Yeah, you had like 5. 4 or 5.
So there were definitely performers that each one had about 5 performers.
Okay, wow, that's like you guys are making your own concert series in a way. Like
that's what it was, just like on the low, but we promoted it as a showcase because it's just a showcase with special guests. Like you never know who's gonna perform.
So random, because I did have like the word showcase series. Was the showcase series underneath like the in-house thing? Because you got like the music and you also had like parties and events. Like, is that all together in one, or is like
So the in-house was the showcase series.
Okay, so we covered 2 things at the same time. Okay.
Yeah, it was. We just promoted it as a party. Like, come, network. Not really network, because a lot of other things were being promoted as that. We just wanted a party. We just wanted people to have fun. But everything was very strategically planned. Like I said, I'm very particular. Like the first event, each DJ was supposed to represent a different part of New York.
Wow. So it's like kind of like either a different set or a different borough, different energy, different vibe.
There was one for Brooklyn. There was one for Queens. There was one that did like the Bronx and Harlem. And then another one that did like everyone else.
Okay.
Another one we did like a timeline. So it went from like 80s, 90s, 2000s, current. Another one was all women. Another one was, I forget, but it was always something.
Okay. So here's my question, right? Just by looking at the history, and you do that between like 2015, 2017.
Yes.
Is there any like, not to like bring that concept back, like under that brand, but in the future to do something like that, like in like 2021 or 2022, like having like those concert series, or you're kind of like past that point of your life?
I still love the idea of throwing events, so I'm not against it. We did have like, we were going to bring it back. Like we had a somewhat like a small like link up that we could put under the in-house last year.
Yeah, I was there for that one.
Yeah, so we had that, but granted that no one expected, we didn't even know what we were walking into. So it wasn't what we wanted. So we still had an idea. We still have ideas of of bringing it back, if that's your question. Yes.
Okay.
We still have ideas that we didn't get to produce.
So just kind of like sitting in, kind of like chilling until you guys want to bring it out.
Yep.
Okay, so just wanted to know because I don't want to miss no more going forward. But so quick hits for these next like 2 or 3 places. So I see that you worked with Hot New Hip Hop for like a couple months. You were like a brand ambassador for Afropunk. And I see Bad Boy Entertainment. I don't know the connection, but like I'm intrigued by these 3. So I feel like if there's because you were there for some of these for short stays. So I feel like there's going to be some stories.
There's always a story with
Tell me about what happened with Hot New Hip Hop.
Okay. So Hot New Hip Hop, I was hit up about being like an on-air personality for them, which was dope because, again, that's something that I've wanted to do. So it was like, fuck yes. And this was I was brought to me by someone that I used to work with at the Source. So yeah, we did that. They had me doing certain series, like one was called Word on the Street. Word on the Street, they basically give you a topic and you go to Union Square and you ask people questions, like whoever actually wants to engage with you. It's funny because there's a video that goes up all the time with Tunde and what's her name? The one from Brooklyn talking about Biggie and ISIS and all of that.
I remember.
That is actually Word on the Street as well. Like people don't know that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, they brought me on to do Word on the Street in New York. And the first one was really cool. But obviously it's a comfort zone thing because even though this is something I've wanted to do, I didn't really know how to break into it. So, yeah, so I was like, all right, I have to walk up to people, ask them questions about music. Like, this is wild. But we got through it and we were like asking people if they liked Damn or More Life more. And it made for good content. I did another episode. I did a couple other things with them, but the one that really broke the camel's back was they were like, all right, well, go out in Union Square and ask people about Logic's album. And I'm like, what about Logic's album? Do you want me to ask people in New York City? Like, who's listening to Logic? And mind you, Hot New Hip Hop is owned by white people. So they listen to Logic. So they want to know because I think they had like a working relationship with him. So it was something that they felt they needed to do. However, me who is from here knows that niggas here is not listening to Logic. So I'm just like, all right, now I got to listen to this album that I don't want to listen to. But, let me give him a chance. I didn't really care for the music personally, but, whatever. So in Union Square, of course, a lot of people that I asked didn't listen to it. They don't know who he is. Or they do know that he's that kid that looks black. No, who looks white, but is half black. That's all they know about him. So I tried to figure out a way to create conversation, even for those people who didn't listen to the album. And my way of doing that was asking them how they feel about him saying nigga.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. You know me. Of course I did. So that turned it into a kind of controversial. And after that, they didn't really like that. Yeah,
they were just like, they tried to stay with it. But now I know that I don't know why this is breaking down, if anything.
But yeah.
All right, so we're back. Shout out to the microphone stand being misogynist. So we've been realizing during the interview that the mic was going down. Mm-hmm. So I had to like troubleshoot and it was really annoying for her. I was actually getting annoyed trying to hopefully it was going to work, but it wasn't. So we're back. We're discussing how people didn't really bang with Logic. I'm going to give you, I like Logic, but I'm not going to say Logic is in my top tier, but he's an interesting musician. So I feel like
I'll give that.
Yeah, but nobody was going to really listen to his album. It's no disrespect to him, but he didn't have that persona that made me go, I really wanted to listen to his music, unless you had friends that happened to listen to his music and then they showed you one of his rare songs that are like, listen to it. That's why the N-word thing was pretty creative, even though a lot of people...
I tried. I'm like, you know what? Let me figure out how to make something from nothing because people weren't giving me much. There was like 2 kids who listened to him. It was like, yeah, the album's cool. I like this one song where he said, I'm like, okay, cool. So how do you feel when I'm saying nigga? Like, and then a lot of the footage was me just asking people like, all right, so what do you feel about your white friend saying nigga? Like, it turned into something else that they just obviously did not use. Like, you wouldn't get that from watching that video now. But yeah,
they probably heavily edited. But
yeah, then after that, I was like, oh, we'll let you know when we're gonna shoot another one.
They never did.
No, absolutely not.
They nicely basically let you go. So it was like,
absolutely not.
So how was it like being a brand ambassador for Afropunk for, I would call probably like the best year for Afropunk before it kind of got commercialized? Like, you were doing it in 2017 where I remember I went, it was magical.
It was not good.
No,
it wasn't a good experience because they didn't know what they were doing. This was their first year using brand ambassadors.
Wow.
So they had me and Mouse, which shout out to Mouse, but they didn't know what they were doing, so we didn't really know what to do. And they really had me doing like street team type shit.
Wow.
Like going around. So I had a street team and they would go around and like put up flyers, not even put up flyers, give flyers to like certain businesses and take pictures of it being there. And that's it.
That's why.
Or like there were certain events that we had to be at. But there was just, and then like the pay, like it was a lot of issues. I ended up like it ended because I went to the office and I blacked on everybody. I had to ask them if I was pussy. It was a lot.
Okay, so that makes sense. Obviously, you didn't work with them again.
Yeah.
I will not slander that brand, but it's been a very interesting turn of events when it went from being kind of like a solely like Black experience to like trying to include everyone, where it's like it lost its luster a lot. So
if the brand ambassador program was more thought out, it would have been good.
Okay.
This was another situation where I was like, yo, let me do on-camera content. Promote that, and it'll help me promote the festival. That didn't happen. And it just was this fucking street team shit. And I was like, I didn't join on to do this to be part of a street team. Like, that's
kind of going backwards for you.
What am I doing this for? Like, I'm not gaining anything, literally. And then you're also paying me late. Now I got to roll up to your office and ask if y'all lost your mind. I wouldn't do that. But if I have to, I will. So, yeah.
All right, so
that was that.
Those last two or something else. Bad Boy Entertainment. How does Shenae Curry, who wants to be the next Diddy, connect with Bad Boy?
I have a friend who is from the Source who does a bunch of other shit too. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I was just chilling at home and he was like, yo, Bad Boy needs models / brand ambassadors for Summer Jam. You want to go? And I was like, what? And this is while they're having like that anniversary thing that they were doing. So I was like, do I want to be? Yes, of course.
Oh yeah, the big reunion tour like thing, right? Where everyone
they were doing all that. I didn't get to go to that. I'm very upset.
Sorry.
But no, so the Bad Boy thing was really just being a brand ambassador at Summer Jam.
Okay. Which
was dope. I got to do all of that for free and got paid for it. And that was like being that close to even that brand that I idolize. Well, not the brand, but you know what it stood for in the culture. That's what I really admired. So I was like, yo, to be like somewhat adjacent or like part of the crew for this day was just insane to me, especially as a New Yorker. Like it was just like so
it's kind of
crazy.
Like you're around like living history, and you get
like granted Diddy wasn't there, but it's just like I'm around the people who work with him. So that was fucking amazing to me. Like I got to, so basically me and these other girls were just backstage. They had a Ciroc lounge. And were we interviewing? We were like, how do you say, like, just the people there, like asking certain artists if they want drinks. Are y'all good? Like entertaining them, like, you know, just chit chatting with them. And it was uncomfortable for me because there's certain people that I already knew. Like Joey Badass was there too. And he was just like, what you doing here? And I'm like, oh, I'm working with Bad Boy. And he was like, that's cool. But like, what are you doing? Like, why are you just in the back? Like just being with these other girls? Like, why are you not doing something more? And I'm like, I want to know that too. But it was cool, like to see him. And then like, you got these girls that are like giddy as fuck about Dave East and they want us to take pictures with the artist. And I don't do that.
It goes against your MO. Like you're like, you don't really.
So it was a bittersweet situation because ideally I want to be one of the people that's invited to this Ciroc Lounge. I don't want to be one of the girls that's making sure we got drinks in the Ciroc Lounge. But it was definitely an eye-opening experience. Definitely. We got to be on stage when Lil Kim performed. That was cool.
Okay, that's something. So just looking at these last three things, is like everything was like either a brand ambassador, like kind of like in the area that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And just thinking back to when you were like a young little lady, made your first publication at like 14. Then you did like the marketing plan at 17, right? And then you're doing your own website, you're doing the radio thing, you're doing all these things. You're doing this relationship building where you have TD, you have Dreamville, you have all these big name collectives that know you. And it's like, yo, we bangs her because she's talented. So when people see you, it's like Joey in that story is like, bro, this is not to say it's beneath you, like to disrespect you, but he holds you so much higher. Whereas it's like, yo, these people don't know.
They don't
you.
know exactly. They're like, yo, they don't know who you are. Like, why are you not doing interviews? Why are you not like outside, like watching the show? Because I didn't get to see his set because I'm fucking taking pictures with Davies with these bitches who are mad giddy. Like, I don't give a fuck about Davies. They do. But I'm just like, nah, I gotta take, like.
I feel like all of this sets up to what I would feel like is one of my favorites. Not your best, but it's one of my favorite because I feel like it's going to evolve more as you get to bring it back. And I hope to be invited for like the future season. But let's talk about Best Tweet Ever and how it was like one of the most amazing Twitter experiences like ever when it comes to how you did like the visual. Because I think you should talk about, because growing up, VH1, when it came to Best Week Ever, I thought that was one of the coolest shows, right?
It was so good.
But it didn't have black people like us. So it probably had one or two. And when we were on there, like our black people, they were like hilarious for like those 2 seconds. And they brought together people. But you made something like Best Tweet Ever. And you had some of the most amazing personalities, you know, musicians or like people that were funny. Like you had Julius, you had Chloe back on. It's another collaboration. And I know you had Alexa. You had so many people. You would have thought it was like an all-star cast of people. And just because of your people management skills of like, you have a relationship building, right? And not a lot of people don't understand how important it is not to have a good reputation, but have the good relationship. Because if people don't want to work with you, then it's like, you're talented, but I don't really want to work with you. And you got these people easily like, hey, can you do this
just a text. Like your reputation definitely precedes you with strangers, but definitely with your friends and your circle too. Because we could be friends and that's fine. And you know, like your friend could create stuff, but it's like, once you know that your friend creates dope stuff, you definitely want to be a part of it. But anyway, Best Tweet Ever came to me one night. I was drunk with Julius, drinking Taylor Port on my mom's living room.
This story's wild.
It's always going to be. So a lot of my ideas come to me drunk, honestly. Like I'm not a smoker like I used to be.
So you're like a drunken master.
Yes. Okay. I like that. Yeah. So yeah, drinking Taylor Port. I was like, why don't we have shows like Best Week Ever? Remember Best Year Ever? Remember this? Remember like Girl Code? Like I want to do one, but like for Twitter. Like it literally just came to me just like that. Like, nah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna call it Best Tweet Ever. He was like, that's dope. I think the same night Julius and I came up with event idea that we did too called Oxtail versus Fried Chicken, which is a whole nother bunch of shenanigans.
Why did I miss all these awesome events, guys? Yo. Oh my God. So I feel like, because I don't remember why Best Week Ever got like canceled or let go, but I feel like with you doing that, like those probably like bi-weekly or whenever the release schedule was, I was ready. Like I feel like I saw it and I was like, I gotta tune in. Like,
so the thing with Best Tweet Ever, I had everything in my mind. Like I could see it. Like I could see the logo I wanted. I could see the people I wanted. I could see how I wanted it to look aesthetically. But to find people who can bring that to life is the challenge. So easily I had a friend who had his own production studio and a podcast studio. Shout out to Wise. And he like automatically agreed that I could do it there. Cool. I had an idea of who would be in the pilot episode so I could test it out and see how it works. That worked. Certain things is like, all right, so we're going to use a green screen. How can we I want animations. Like I want things flying. I want videos behind them. I want it to look very clean and very, proper. Like it's a big thing. Like it's on TV. Found a editor who could do that. And he delivered. Like shit was out of like more than what I imagined it could be. It was fire. I think then you got like production schedules. You have my schedule. You have everyone else's schedule. You have me trying to find people who can be on it. The editor and his schedule. Because everyone at this point is doing it for free. Because I didn't have no money. Because look at everything you just asked me that I did in that year in 2017. I wasn't working. Like I was hosting and that was my money. So everyone was just doing it pro bono and it was great. But just getting it on a production schedule wasn't happening how I wanted it to happen.
Yeah, because it didn't have like the thing that would incentivize it to be on those schedules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have access or I didn't know how to get a bigger studio that would help me produce it. Like I didn't know how to do certain things, but I just knew what I wanted. So we do like the first season, which turned into season 1 just because the editor didn't want to do it anymore. Like he didn't want to edit. He didn't want to be an editor anymore, like in life.
He was retiring.
I forgot what he decided he wanted to do, but it wasn't that. So he was like, yeah, I'm like switching gears. And I was like, fuck.
Because you found someone that kind of like executed the vision, which is rare.
It was perfect.
Very rare.
It was like, if you watch the show, like the season 1 is a drastic change from season 2. And not to take away from the other editors that I worked with, because they tried as much as they could to emulate what we were already doing. And they did a good job. But everyone, I think, ultimately could tell, like, I wasn't necessarily above the moon about it anymore. But yeah, the show itself was great. Like I was loving hosting my own show, writing it, casting, having my friends / people that are influencers and writers in their own rights too. DJs, like I had DJ Miss Milan. I had, like you said, Alexa. I had Tahoe, who now has his own podcast. And
like
he didn't have that. He wasn't that before. He was just this nigga on the timeline who I've been cool with for years, who's just funny as hell. I had, like you said, Chloe. I had Corey Towns. I had Lowkey. I had Jesse Wu. I don't even like.
But you had a lot of names. We don't, because you know a lot of people.
And
I think what's impressive is that you have a lot of people that are either, like, trajectory wise, either around the same area, like they're maybe a little bit higher, or like people that like Tahoe right now is like a powerhouse in himself, where he has like 2 or 3 podcasts. He has his own thing he's going on. But before he was that, he was around other people where it's like, oh, this is, but you gave like people opportunities. It's kind of like, you're like, I don't want to say female Julian, but in your own way with like Best Tweet Ever, it's kind of like your own appropriate culture in a way where it's like you gave these people where they normally wouldn't get to do these things, but you got them in these seats where it's like, oh, this is mad fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because I wanted like that was my whole idea. I was like, I could use my friends who are in the industry, my friends that are influencers. And then I could also have like my regular people that I key with on the timeline that are just funny. And why not bring all of those together? So you have the appeal of the everyday person, and then you have the appeal of the industry person who is friends with these people. And that's like cross marketing to this part and this part. These people are getting to meet these people. And you just like, it's just very me. So I just felt like it covered all bases. And like the inspiration for the show obviously came from VH1 and all the lack of shows that we have and the lack of representation in those shows for us. But also like I was inspired by, which is funny because I know you're going to ask about it, but it was inspired by a show that I was doing that I would get casted to do here and there at Global Grind, which was called, why can't I think of the name of the show?
I do remember.
But you know what I'm talking about. Damn it. Well, anyway, it was done and hosted by Blogzilla. And where he'd have us come up and read celebrity tweets and react. So not a lot of it was inspired by that, but knowing that I could do it kind of was inspired by that.
Okay.
And being on that show, because that was my first talking heads kind of experience. So now I wanted to create that too. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad that, you got to make that first 2 seasons. I'm guessing when, COVID and other things, you'll be able to focus on season 3 and onward, because that still exists. You just want to be able to do it your way, the right way.
I've had people ask me like during quarantine, like, oh, what if you do it where you record it and then you have other people record like from their house? And that's just not something I want to do. Like, I don't want to do the looking like a Zoom call type.
Like the SNL type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I and very much so do not want that. I don't want my show to look like that. And I understand the whole adapting to the times, but that's just not what I want. Like, I want my show to look like season 1.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there was no way that I was going to try to do like Zoom interviews.
Absolutely not.
That's why.
And it's ugly.
Yeah,
like, people have different quality cameras. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing with y'all.
You want the
it
full
needs to
control.
look clean.
So I'm looking forward to like when you're able to do it your way, because I feel like there's a lot more left in the tank for that, way more left in the tank for that platform. But while you're able to do that, you also simultaneously were doing like the Safe Summit. How are you doing all these things? Like, first of all, also mental health, because I feel like even for me, going through like my own journey of like owning that, I feel like I didn't get to go to like when you were doing like the fundraiser. I know I donated, but I didn't get to go to like your events when you're like really talking about what the Safe Summit is and how it could make, you know, a place for people like us to be like, hey, I'm a little vulnerable right now. I need some help. I don't want to get made fun of. What can we do? Like, well, what kind of like inspired you to do that?
The Safe Summit came about while I guess I was depressed, but also my friends were just going through it. So this was a year when I had first moved out of my mom's house in not the nicest way. Like, our relationship wasn't doing great. I also had friends who, like, I'm not going to say their names, but I had friends who were drinking a lot, trying to escape whatever mental things they had going on. So I would just look at it and I'm just like, yo, why are so many of us who seemingly to the outside have all this access and have so many opportunities for us, why are we binge drinking so much? And then just to go home and be sad. Like, we joke about it. We can joke about, oh, we got smacked at this open bar and like now we're like simping or we're tweeting depressingly or like, you know, like your feelings, like you're putting it online. So obviously you're going through something and like your way of getting around it is drinking or smoking or whatever your vice is, or just going out and being social, but you're not really dealing with your own mental health. Mental health, to me, I'm not going to act like I've been an advocate all my life, because also being West Indian is kind of a taboo situation.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really understand what it was, but I never downplayed it. It wasn't until like my great grandmother died and I spent a lot of time, I binge watched, I would say like 14 seasons of Grey's Anatomy in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So my mom was the one who'd be like, are you depressed? Like, you don't want to go out? You don't want to go to the movies? Like, where's your friends? And I'm like, I don't want to do anything except watch Grey's. So that was the first time, like, I remember that because that was the first time that she said it to me. And me and my mom have a very, like, our relationship is always very, like, she understands things without me having to say it. Like, when I dropped out of college, she's the one who was like, I don't feel like you want to do this anymore. I was like, that's ironic because I definitely don't. And I haven't been going to school in the last 3 months. Like, so she just knows me very well. So she was like, I just don't feel like, you know, you're you. So also with all of that in the back of my mind, knowing that I've gone through, I guess, a time of being depressed. And like, you also have your time where you're alone and you're just like hating everything. And especially with all the experience I just told you about in 2017 itself, where I have these great opportunities, but they ultimately fall off for whatever reason. Like, it's slipped from right under me. Then you have like personal life where your friendships or your romantic situations aren't going the way that you wanted it to, when you really for sure thought it was going to be more than what it was. So all of that hitting me while I'm fucking not living at home anymore, don't have my regular security blankets of anything. And then I'm also seeing my friends also going through things. I'm just like, all right, we need something. We need a retreat. We need just to talk to each other, basically. So the way I figured out to do that was the event, which ended up being called the Safe Summit. Yeah, so it was an idea at first. I created I wrote down all the ideas I had. I wrote down what I wanted to do. It didn't manifest until like the next year. But I think, how did it even start? I think I just like had the idea and I started telling like certain people, but also mainly doing it on my own. And I just didn't know where to start. So I tweeted about it. I was like, yo, I have this idea. I want to do something because mental health, I don't feel like anyone's really talking about it. And this is before like fucking Kanye and Charlemagne did their thing. This is way before any of that.
Yeah.
Kind of feel like they got that from me. But anyway, that's a different situation. But yeah, so I was just like, I put up a GoFundMe because, again, didn't have any money. And now this is going into 2018. Didn't have no bread, but I needed this to happen for my friends. Because I wanted to be on some, like, we all sitting in a circle, kumbaya, like, talking about our feelings. And no one has phones. No one has this. But put up the GoFundMe. I raised, I think, like $2,000 in 24 hours. And that was insane to me. So right after that, now that it has momentum, I'm like, I got to make this happen in like a couple of weeks. I think it happened in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Someone recommended Heal House to me. So shout out to Heal House. They donated the space to me. And we just literally, I had therapists reach out to me because I wanted therapists to be there on like a panel. And then I wanted people to be able to talk to the therapists after and like get their info. And yeah, it just all just rolled out. Like it just happened. I don't know. Another one of those serendipity type of things.
Because you know what's interesting? I actually had my therapist do Heal House. And because like, so I didn't get to go to that event, but in my mind, because of that event, I feel like a lot of people started paying attention to Heal House and people started like telling me, like, you should check that out. Because I've done therapy. I think I've done therapy in 2017 to 2018, but I was like Talkspace. That's like, you know, virtual. So it's not the same as like us seeing each other. So it's like, it helped because I was going through some tough times. But at some points I thought about it and it wasn't until like 2019 where it's like, all right, I need this. Because like right now I can't, there's no like machismo. Like I need to talk to someone. So I think it's really inspiring that you did that because I feel like,
so it like helped you even though you weren't there.
Yeah, it was like, because it helped.
Crazy.
It kind of
I
like,
didn't even know that.
Yeah, because it's like, it was like little pebbles, like so many different pebbles that people have done. So it was like, that was there, right? And it was like floating there. And then another like influencer / personality, Jameer, when he was talking about him going through mental health and him doing therapy and how it was improving his relationship with not only himself and his male and female friends, but his father. Because I have issues with my dad. Not about me, but I was looking at that as like, if he could do that and he had issues and he's just sharing with that to us publicly, I should be able to do it. Not in a competitive way, but we're both talented.
Yeah.
All I got to do is just take that step. So it's like so many people that are around me that was like, they're doing things. Like, you were doing that. I was like, all right, I got to do this. Like, I can't make any excuse that I can't do this. There's so many resources around that it's like, I have to do this. So I really want to commend you for that, like being strong enough to not just for yourself, but like your friends, because they need that. And I feel like now we're learning that vulnerability is important. Like being talented and doing all this stuff, but like if we can't keep ourselves like healthy, then this doesn't mean anything. We can't stay long enough to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the crazy part too. Because even before the Safe Summit, I think I hit the lowest, I guess, that I felt. And this is again me. This is before I started planning it. Like before I actually had the idea to do it. And it was the most vulnerable I've ever been on social media. And all I tweeted was, I'm really not happy, but I'll be back when I am, or something like that. It was very simple. And like so many people reached out to me and I was just like, Jesus Christ. Like all I said is I don't feel happy. So to know that there's a community that's still like looking out for you, even if you say the smallest thing, like it was crazy to me. So I'm like, I can confess, I still haven't even gone to therapy. Like I haven't even done that. And I threw this whole event and all of that for people and I still didn't do it for myself. But,
I mean, it's there. I feel like in your mind, you know.
Yeah.
But you really were kind of like doing it for your friends. Not to say, hey, do it by yourself. But it's like, I feel like when you're ready to go, you'll go. Yeah.
So it was cool. Like it was supposed to be very much structured, the event. Like it was, I was supposed to have, it was like time slots of things. I had food, I had refreshments, Milan made me a playlist to play during the event.
That's wavy.
But it really just turned into, I had a panel of someone who survived suicide, a therapist, a trainer. I think that was it. And then like Orlando ended up kind of being on the panel because I didn't even know he was very insightful when it came to mental health.
Yeah.
Like, but that was the day that a lot of people learned that about him. Like everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, we just thought you work out. So it ended up being like people asking the panel things or like the panel talking about so it started as the panel talking about who they are and what they do. And then literally after that, people are raising their hands, giving their personal stuff and getting feedback from the panel. Like it was so crazy to me because I did not expect people to be so eager to talk about mental health. Like I was sitting there, a lot of the pictures is me sitting in this chair just looking shocked because you got grown men there was a group of friends who were supposed to be on their way to brunch. And one was like on social media. It was like, oh, I saw that there's this event called Say Something. Y'all seen this? And they was like, yeah, that's actually where we're going. And they was like, oh, I thought we were going to brunch. It's like, no, we're going to talk about our feelings. So then they came and all of them were just like sharing things that they've gone through and like their past and how should they tackle this. And I was like, this is fucking crazy. Like, and it was way more people than I expected. It was supposed to be like 15 people. I think it was like 35. So people were standing up.
Yeah, so that's like what? Is that 100% or like 125% increase or something like that? I'm not a math person. But my question when it comes to that is, like with the Safe Summit, is there any way, I don't know if you can get support from the community where it could be like, I don't know, like an annual thing where you can have like, because something that's easy because, everything's money. So we know because like, you had to fundraise and stuff like that. But I feel like if it was like an annual type summit where people, and I don't know if that was in your plans or if that was a one-time thing, but just, I don't know what is the future for the Safe Summit? What do you have in mind?
That's the thing. I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. I just wanted to do that then.
Okay.
Afterwards, it's, after you throw something like that, people are always like, when's the next one? And I'm like, I didn't even know what I was doing with this one.
Yeah.
I don't know how to start a next one. And then the other thing was I didn't want to seem like what everyone and myself started claiming Charlamagne and Kanye to be doing, which is monopolizing on mental health. I didn't want it to seem like how you talk hella shit online, you be bullying people, you come from this kind of background, how all of a sudden you want to do mental health? I didn't want to be that person, not to anyone else, but especially to myself, because like this is not really your brand. So how do you try to juggle both, where you can still be a critic and a commentator of the culture, but also not to be concerned about people's mental health, but I feel like you know what I'm saying. Like
I get it. It's more of like how do you balance both?
It's
very interesting because we're using Charlamagne as a reference. Like, how are you going to be of the people and of the industry? Like, how are you going to try to be both things? Because it's very interesting. But what I do appreciate, and I'll say that it's something to commend of you when it comes to like your character. Whereas like a lot of people would be like, how can I flip this to continue? Like there's certain other people that they'll do things, but it's like their intent behind it isn't pure. So for me, I just wanted to know also, it doesn't have to be like a physical space. Maybe you can just keep that hashtag where it's like, if anybody wants, like if there's a time that we can just talk on Twitter, where it's like that type of vulnerability, where it's like more cost effective for you, where it's just like, you don't have to do that often, probably like once a quarter or once a half a year.
Like the thing is, I would like it to keep going on.
But I want you to have like that energy where it's like, it's pure for you and you don't have to be conflicted.
I think I'd want to keep it going, but I don't want to be
that person to lead it.
Yes and no. Like right. I want it to be known as the thing that I started, but I don't want to be the one who's putting it together and doing this and doing that. Like I've had people reach out to me that work for like the Department of Health and like Department of Mental Health. And I'm just like, how do I even make this a thing without making it a thing? I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird crossroads because again, I know myself enough to know that being this serious or whatever person isn't really what I'm known for.
Yeah.
But it's like, in a sense, it still works because now, in the last year, I've definitely seen different sides of myself and that I can be the jokey side of me and I can be serious about things too. So I've seen, it's like, this quarantine has definitely helped like get to know yourself if you haven't, I feel, for everybody. So I think there is a way to do both. It's just me finding the timing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we have time. It's just like the happy medium. But I just think that's just something for, people to share when it's like in this long list of things that you've done, right? I just think that which is a very pivotal, like people, like helping people. Like a lot of the things where you were showcasing things, showcasing talent. And I feel like for this one where it's like, I feel like everyone's more serious about mental health than ever before. Because I remember before, probably like pre-2018, like everything before that, people were getting roasted for like emotions and all that stuff. If you were like not like a celebrity, like even Drake gets made fun of for crying over girls, but it's like, life is hard. And we like a lot of things happen. It's like, bro, I can't tough this out. I can't be like, don't cry about this. Like, this hurts.
I think the other thing is that mental health can be a lighthearted conversation. It doesn't have to be as heavy. So I think that's also a factor in it. Like it doesn't, so there's a way I can still be jokey, but I can also still care about what you're going through.
Yeah.
So it's just finding the balance, really.
You're going to get there. But I do want to touch on these last two things before we kind of get on like what is next for Shenae Curry. So I saw that you were attached to Bashy. You were like an editor for like a little bit for Bashy magazine. And currently right now you're a news editor for Travel Noir, right? So those are not overlap. Are you doing both at the same time or are you just doing, because I know they both say that you're still doing both of them, but I thought you only did Bashy for like a year or like
so Bashy... Okay, so Bashy is a Canadian publication dedicated to the Jamaican diaspora. Yeah, so that's why it's called Bashy, like a bashment. It's headed by Shireen Taylor, who is a Jamaican who lives in Canada. She's dope, and she started this just because we don't really have much representation as like a subculture, I guess you could say. So I wrote a lot of things. I was a New York editor, meaning a lot of my pieces came from the eye of a New Yorker who was also Jamaican. So I did like a letter to New York, given like in our eyes, just like how it relates to Jamaica and how it's just like the best representation you can have and just like appreciating the city for what it reminds me of Jamaica. I started a series on there called Sorrel and Champagne, which was... a playlist and an article giving insight on hip hop artists who you might not know are Jamaican or have Jamaican roots. So that was really important to me. I'm not, just for transparency, I'm not sure what's going on with the publication right now, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because I was like, I know you do a lot of things at the same time, but I was looking at when I was looking at the series or some of the posts that you had, like, because you're like an editor and you did like, editor for today, or you're doing like a lot of these pieces. So I was like, all right, cool. In my research, reading some of those articles, but I was like, how is she doing this and doing the other thing at the same time? Because I know like this current job right now, you're really hands on when it comes to like these pieces, and I was just like, how does she have the time to do like two of these things where it's like heavy?
Yeah, no. So Bashy wasn't as long lived as I wanted it to be. Personally, I don't know what's going on. Like I know people be going through things, and starting your own publication is a big deal. Like, granted, in Canada, they have a different situation than here. They're more supported by their government. But aside from that, I know she had her own ups and downs with the whole situation. So I just hope it gets back to what it was before and just continues. And I hope I'm brought back on. Not that I've got left off, but
It's right now it's in hiatus.
Yeah, okay. Basically, in a nutshell.
So how did you get to Travel Noir? How did you do this?
That was just the craziest thing. I think I said that with everything so far. But so after Safe Summit and after all of that, 2018, end of 2018, again, like kind of depressed, not knowing what I'm doing, just in life. I was just like, yo, nothing is really working out. Like, again, 2017, you saw all those things that I did. 2018 was kind of slow. So then I'm like, yo, what the fuck am I even doing with my life? Like, I don't have the resources to make BestTweetEver what I want it to be. I don't have anything I could like make money from it. Hosting events. It's cool, but it's ultimately I still have that shyness in me. So it's really, I'd have to get drunk. And then once I'm drunk, I don't ever seem drunk when I'm drunk, but I'm not going to remember anything.
Okay, Drunken Master Shenae, got it.
Right. So it was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to really host. Like, I will host certain things, but I don't care to host shows and whatever. So, I just was like kind of out of it and decided to apply to this random ass, I guess you could call it a startup too. Well, it is a startup. But got me a little job, first corporate-ish job. And it's funny because the day that I went on the interview, I'm on the train going back home. And that's when my phone is blowing up about that Power Stars show, which was them, quote unquote, copying BestTweetEver.
Yeah.
So that was a day, like, I was just like, what the hell? Like, that shit was insane. I had just left the interview for that job. So I'm on my way home from this job interview, and niggas like, two people that are bigger than me who I know personally basically ripped off the idea I had for my show.
Yeah.
Which was like a slap in the face, but also like, maybe I shouldn't. It's like, it's weird because it's like, should I not be doing this anymore? Or should I not be taking this job? And should I be focusing on my show and my dreams? But I don't have any money to do that. So I'm like, fuck it. Like, people were like louding them up and like bullying them online and calling them all types of shit. They both called me and was like, we're not copying your show. And I'm like, yo, I don't care, bro. Like, this shit is still whack regardless. They were like, oh, we could bring you on. And I'm like, I don't want to be on there. So whatever. Shout out to Jesse. Woo.
Okay.
That's my dog. But yeah. So whatever. I do this job. I'm there hating my life. My Twitter gets suspended for months.
Wow. Oh yeah, that was part of the crackdown with that DMCA thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And I got it bad. So I had no Twitter. I'm at this job hating everything. Got my little burner account. And I tried to make it at least 6 months. You know, you got to be in a job 6 months in New York safe to be able to get unemployment. And I could only make it to 5 because I was going to beat somebody's ass in that job. I couldn't do it anymore. So I decided to leave. So the day, I gave them niggas 2 days notice. I asked them if I could get my PTO for the weekend. They were like, oh no, we already have too many people out on PTO. I said, all right, so tomorrow's my next day. Tomorrow's my last day. Hope y'all, I wish y'all luck.
Wow.
And so after I quit, I needed a new MacBook because mine was like fucking up. So I ordered a new MacBook on QVC because you could lease them on there. Didn't know that.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah, so someone put me on and then I ordered one. The next day, I'm like sitting at home on Twitter. No, this was the next day. This was my last day at that job. So I'm on Twitter like bullshitting because what y'all gonna do, fire me? So I'm doing whatever and I get a DM and it's from someone that I've known for years in the industry, but I wasn't really sure like what she was doing at the time. So she DM'd me. She's like, hey, you still interested in writing? Like, do you still write? And I'm like, I'm not, but I'm interested in it still. Yeah. What's up? She's like, oh, I have this open position at Travel Noir for an editor if you're interested. And it's remote and it's only a few hours a day. It's not really demanding. You pretty much just edit articles and post them. And I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. And I was like, then hell yeah. So she's like, oh, we'll pay this. And I was like, well, I'll come if you can match my pay at my job. And they matched it, no problem. And that was literally just that. Like, It was that easy.
Okay.
Like, so I quit my job, ordered a MacBook, and then the next day I get this job offer out of nowhere.
Serendipity.
Exactly. And yeah, I started within a week. Like, I had other jobs, because I was also applying to jobs. I was going to job interviews on my lunch break. And I had got an offer from a job with like it would be my first salary job. And I literally just didn't take it because I just felt I want to get back. I've been trying to figure out how to get back into this industry that I love and that I'm familiar with. But also this is a new way because it's travel. It's not entertainment. So hell yeah, like I'm going to just take that. Fuck this salary job. Like I'll figure it out. So that's literally how I got here. I started and then the week after I started, I got my first press trip. Press trip is just a trip that you go on for free because that city invites you there for whatever the fuck is going on. Got invited to Cincinnati. Never been to Cincinnati, but they had a music festival. And I felt like that was also a sign for me because it was like, yo, you can make, even though this is travel, you can still relate it to your dreams and your desires with his music. So I'd never heard of the Cincinnati Music Festival, but it was headlined by Mary J. Blige and Maxwell.
That's crazy.
And then they had fucking, who else performed? They had why can't I think right now? They had Earth, Wind and Fire. They had New Edition. It was crazy. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, I feel like because we're so New York, we'd be thinking so like everything's us. So we'd be forgetting that other cities have it.
It was a huge ass show. Like, it was amazing. And I was the youngest one on the trip. I was by myself. Everyone else like brought someone with them. I didn't even know that was an option. But it was so eye-opening. And it really set the tone for like, you know what? This is my shit. Like, this is it. Like, I can travel. I work from home. I can literally be anywhere and work from there. And in some ways, I can still tie in music with everything. So
right now, this job is, well, you're enjoying it. This is great. Mm-hmm. This is like you kind of mixing all of the things you've kind of been through when it comes to traveling. You can do music, you cover events, but this is not the final stop. Like, obviously, there's way more to go, and you're probably going to try to, do the right thing with BestTweetEver and, like, show people the right way to do it. But all in all, when it comes to just looking back at everything did you think that you would be here? Because remember, like you wanted to be a veterinarian. Like you were supposed to be with just animals and just, making your
It's funny how easily I just dropped that. Because I was like, you know what? I like animals, but they can't tell me what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
So I don't do this. Yeah. It's like, fuck that. No. So yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy. It's crazy talking to family and them knowing what I want to do. And some of them are into what I'm doing, or they just find it interesting. Like, oh, you're making a living off of this? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm chilling. And they're just like, wow. My mom is super supportive. Like, she loves everything. And then you still got other family that's like, you don't want to just get a job. No, I'm fine. I'm completely fine. Trust.
I got to say, like, because probably like 50% of the things that we covered today, like, I didn't know. Also, it does say on your LinkedIn that you're like the assistant road manager. I feel like the story for another day. That's someone else needs to cover that, because I didn't even know that until I looked at your LinkedIn. I knew you were connected to Top Dog, but I never even looked at it. It's like, oh, you were there for 3 years, 4 years.
I mean, it's kind of embellishment. Just, you got a lie in your resume sometimes.
Cut that out. We're going to cut that out when we talk about it. No embellishment. We're going to cut that out. But Shenae, it's a pleasure to get you in here, just to see all of, like, everything came from you just doing things, and it just naturally just progressing, like, organically. Like,
yep.
You worked in crazy magazines. You made one. You have a great show. It's going to come back when this is not crazy outside, and you're just still creating, and you're still kind of pivoting. And I feel like that's what you're very fluid, like the water sign. Like, you're very just like, all right, this water's tainted. I'm not going to be here. And I think that's what makes you so, like I said before, like when we started this, like, impactful. Because I feel like a lot of your things, when you look at it like 5-10 years from now, it's like, yo, you did a lot of great content. You did a lot of great things. So you should make sure you know that and appreciate it. I feel like
I appreciate it. This is like
interviews.
A reflection for me.
Yeah,
actually.
I think it's good. I feel like it's good to have like those, because we don't actually get to deep dive with ourselves. And I feel like this is why I love this podcast, because we're not going to just touch on the most recent thing. We're going to see, like, you really did a lot of stuff that if you didn't do those things when you were like a young little lady, like, you wouldn't
young little lady.
And I'm saying girls so dismissive. I feel like ladies more powerful, but that's just me.
Even like my clothing line, like the way that even started was fluid too.
I didn't even mention the clothing line. And I feel like it's because you still, like, she's been doing really limited releases, and that's like a story for another day. I'm probably going to have to do a catch-up one. But I've been like, I never got to get them because they always sold out by the time I get there. And
well, they're up now.
Are they?
Yeah, they're up. Like, I have them just like on rotation, because at first it was like the way just even selling stuff like that, I didn't have the resources to just have them. Yeah,
on deck. It's expensive.
Or just to even have it rolling like that, because, you have to pay for the inventory. So now it's just rolling. Like, I have enough income to where I can support it just rolling. So people can go on there anytime. So
we're at the end. So let's first get the social media for all of your things. Let's first get the clothing line. What is the like the website, or like, so we're going to list that. The
clothing line is DCMB_New York on Twitter. On Instagram, it's DCMB.NY.
Okay.
And the website is DCMB-NY.com.
Okay.
And DCMB stands for Don't Call Me Baby, it's my idea of the entire clothing line, which is streetwear for women that men can wear if they want to, because all men's streetwear is the opposite.
Yeah.
And we don't really have anything, or like this men's company will make us a shirt and it's like crap. So it's targeted for women, but it's stuff that men can wear too.
Okay.
But it started because of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I just felt that was a good way to launch it and make money to support everyone who's out there fighting for our black asses.
Okay. And I think BestTweetEver has a platform too, right? It's just BestTweetEver, or is it just like a hashtag?
It's BestTweetEver.
Okay.
On social media.
Okay. And where can they find you on social media?
Well, Shenae Curry, ShenaeCurry.
All right.
Shenae Curry on everything.
Everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had after. This is going to be a funny one because we have so many memes, because phone stopped recording. The mic stand was being misogynist. Like, facts. I didn't hit the record button the first time. But guys, please make sure you just tune into Shenae Curry. And I just shook the table. Oh, we're going to have to end this episode and edit the hell out of this.
Yo, guys, Mercury retrograde is kicking our asses
crazy.
Today.
But I'm glad to have her. This is Skip from BK, your host for Dreams Money Can Buy. Please tune in on Cove Alpha. That's COVEALPA. Tune in. Stay in touch with Shenae Curry. Stay in touch with me. And we are out. Boom.
Bye.
And we're back. Hi guys. So another post credit. We're bringing in. We brought in actually because she's been gone. She left quite a while ago. It's Shenae Curry. So Shenae Curry is an exceptional personality, writer, host, just all in all, just a creative person. And she also has her clothing line as well. So if you want to follow her on Twitter and Instagram, just Shenae Curry. Hopefully I'm going to spell out Shenae. Follow along. Follow the bouncing ball. So it's SHENAE Curry. That's, CURRY. Her clothing line is DCMB NYC. And the website for that is DCMB-NY.com. So just make sure you buy some t-shirts. Make sure you keep in the know with her. Tell her that I sent you. And stay in the know with me. I love sharing and giving everybody else a platform, but make sure you stay, abreast of what I'm doing. It's Skip from UK on everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You know what it is. And without these people, I don't have a show. So Slept On Creatives, such a amazing production company. They work on the audio, the video, and pretty much anything with the clips, just to make sure that we just look good in it. Even though they're probably booked with projects, you can ask them. Make sure you have the cash up front and tell them I sent you. So they're on Instagram, Slept On Creatives, and they're on Twitter, SO_creatives. That is SO_creatives. And last but not least, it is Cove Alpha. I am the head honcho of that because that is my baby. And Cove Alpha is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. That's where our articles will be, podcasts, hopefully we're going to have some events in the future. So that's what that's where we're going to do things. So just stay tuned and be safe. Peace.